In the crypto world, all the noise is about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and whatever new meme coin is trending this week. But while everyone's chasing the hype, there's this project that's been around for nearly a decade, quietly building the actual plumbing for a new global financial system. Today, we're going to talk about Stellar.
And that quote really nails it. While other projects are shouting for attention, Stellar is just building. It's not chasing headlines. Nope. It's chasing one of the biggest, oldest problems in the world. The fact that money is slow, expensive, and for many people, really hard to access. So what is this quiet giant actually up to?
So to really get Stellar, you've got to understand what it's not trying to be. It's not out here trying to be the next digital gold or some kind of decentralized supercomputer. Its mission is way more focused and, honestly, maybe a lot more urgent.
Let's break it down like this. If Bitcoin is trying to be a store of value, digital gold, and Ethereum is this big platform for building apps with programmable money, then Stellar is a completely different beast. Think of it as a universal money translator. Its whole goal is super simple. Let people move any kind of value, dollars, pesos, euros, stablecoins, whatever, anywhere in the world, almost instantly, and for next to nothing.
Okay, but a great mission is one thing, right? What about the actual performance? Let's switch gears and look at the hard data, because the numbers are telling a pretty interesting story about where Stellar is at right now.
So as you can see, Stellar's token, XLM, has absolutely kept pace with its direct competitors. Gains of over 250% in the last year? That's impressive. But here's the thing. When you dig into its fundamentals, which we're about to do, you start to see a real case that it might still be undervalued compared to the others.
And this little number is key context. Even with those recent gains, Stellar is still down 65% from its all-time high of 94 cents way back in 2018. It kind of missed the big party in the 2021 bull run, and a lot of that was because of the whole regulatory mess with Ripple, which cast a shadow over similar projects. So with that uncertainty starting to clear up, you have to wonder if there's a lot of room to grow.
Now, a huge piece of Stellar's growing value is something called real-world assets, or RWAs. All this means is taking things from the real world, like real estate, stocks, or bonds, and putting them on the blockchain. This unlocks all sorts of cool stuff like global trading and letting people own just a tiny piece of something valuable. And, well, this is a sector where Stellar is absolutely exploding right now.
Just look at this chart. The total value of these real-world assets on Stellar jumped from $505 million to $639 million. That's a 26.5% jump in a single month. But the token's price? It hasn't really reacted to that incredible growth. There's a serious disconnect happening between the network's activity and what the market thinks it's worth.
And this all leads us to a really important question. The numbers hint that maybe this thing is undervalued. But do numbers ever tell the whole story? To really understand Stellar, you have to look past the price charts and focus on the problem it was actually built to solve. And believe me, that problem is absolutely massive. Stellar's whole reason for existing is to give more people fair access to the global financial system. It wants to make money move smoother, make markets more open, and basically give people more control. It's here to fix the financial world's friction.
And this number, this is what puts it all into perspective. 1.4 billion adults around the world are unbanked. That's a population bigger than the entire continent of Africa, completely cut off from basic financial tools. But you know what a lot of them do have? A smartphone. And that's the exact gap Stellar was designed to bridge.
So what does that actually look like? Well, imagine you need to send $200 to your family overseas. The old way? You'd probably pay $10, maybe $20 in fees, and they'd wait for days. On Stellar, that same transfer costs a tiny fraction of a penny, and it gets there in about 3 seconds. For millions of people, that's not just a small improvement. That is life-changing.
And the size of this opportunity, it's just staggering. The global remittance market, that's all the money people send back home across borders, was $860 billion last year. If Stellar can just grab a tiny slice of that pie by making it cheaper and faster, we're talking about a monumental shift in how money moves around the planet.
So how does it pull this off? It's all thanks to its special engine, the Stellar Consensus Protocol. See, unlike Bitcoin, which uses tons of energy for mining, Stellar uses a network of trusted computers to approve transactions in just a few seconds. It's super efficient, super fast, and costs almost nothing to run. And in a world that's getting really serious about sustainability, being eco-friendly is a huge, huge advantage.
All right, so the mission is clear, the tech is powerful, but is anyone actually using it?
Or is this all just a cool idea on a white paper? Well, the answer to that is a resounding yes. This is happening in the real world, right now.
Look, this isn't some far-off promise. MoneyGram, the global payments giant, is plugged into Stellar. You can literally walk into a store with cash and have USDC stablecoins in a digital wallet in seconds. Circle, the company behind USDC, chose Stellar as one of its main networks. Even a tech titan like IBM has used Stellar for its global payment systems. These aren't just little tests. This is real, foundational infrastructure being built as we speak.
And it gets even better. All around the world, governments are looking into creating their own digital currencies, what they call CBDCs. And guess who's positioning themselves to be the rails that this new digital money runs on? Stellar. In fact, the National Bank of Ukraine already partnered with them to pilot its digital currency. So while everyone else is just talking about it, Stellar is already in the room building with central banks.
So all of this brings us back to the final equation. On one hand, you have the market price, which feels kind of random and driven by short-term feelings. And on the other hand, you have the purpose, the mission, and the real-world use, which are all quietly and steadily growing in the background.
I love this quote because it perfectly captures what's going on with a project like Stellar. The reality, the partnerships, the network growth, the problems it's solving, that's all happening. The price? That's just the market's mood. And sooner or later, that mood has to catch up to what's really going on.
And this is the fundamental tug-of-war right here. On the left, you have the noise, all the short-term market psychology driven by hype, social media, fear, and greed. But on the right, you have the signal, that quiet, steady progress of real-world partnerships and actual people using the network. Right now, the noise feels pretty loud, but that signal? It's getting stronger every single day.
And that really is the key takeaway here, isn't it? When you're looking at deep infrastructure projects, it's a game of patience. Real, lasting adoption doesn't show up with a giant party and fireworks. It builds quietly in pilot programs and back-end partnerships. It whispers. And history has shown us that by the time that whisper becomes a roar on the front page of the news, the best opportunity has already passed you by.
Which leads us with the ultimate question. In the long run, what really defines value? Is it the fleeting hype of the crowd? Or is it the slow, steady creation of something that people actually need and use in their daily lives? With a project like Stellar, we're getting to watch that experiment play out in real time.